Welcome. Yes, my friends, this is the Vintage Edmonton Music Podcast, and I am your host, Robert Clues, and welcome to a very special episode, quote unquote, of the Vintage Edmonton Music Podcast, specifically because there's no music in it. Let me explain. I know the last episode I mentioned that my turntable, my beloved turntable, had gone kablooey, and I was without a turntable, essentially. I have ordered one. It has not arrived yet, unfortunately. So I have nothing to play for you fine people for this particular episode, and I feel horrible about that. I will make it up for you. In December, I will have a special episode of the podcast, a Christmas episode, if you will. I haven't had one of those in a couple of years, I think, so I apologize for that. So this particular episode instead will be a story that I have told over the years that happened to me. And since it's Halloween, I feel this is a very good story to tell. And it's one of those things that you can't believe happened to you until it happens to you. It's one of those ones. And again, over the years I've told this. I've told it mainly in places where we inhibit spirits, not in a literal sense, but in places like bars and taverns and public houses and things of that nature. And I've had requests over the years by friends to tell it to other friends and tell them to acquaintances. So I thought this year I would actually put the story on tape. Digital tape, I guess, and let all you fine people have at it. And again, since it's Halloween, this is the perfect time to do it. And since, again, I tell this in places that we have a little drink and things like that, I thought I'd set the scene in that specific type of atmosphere. So without further ado, I hope you like this story. Without further ado, here is my Halloween story. A long time ago, I lived in a very, very small village outside of a very big city in the United States, in the Midwest. How I got there was because a friend, my best friend, who was a lifer in the hospitality industry like myself, he had opened up a restaurant with another one of our friends in this particular location, in this very small village. The other friend immediately bailed right after that, so my best friend was stuck. He didn't have anybody to help run the restaurant, didn't have anybody to buy in with him, essentially. So he called me up and he asked me to please come down here, help me run this place, put some money in. And I said, sure, why not? I do so. I moved to this village. In the village, again, the downtown area was essentially two buildings. It was a very small bank on one side of the street, and this building, which was a Masonic building built by Masons. And the other side, on one side on the main floor, there was a tavern that turned into a very small drop-in center. On the other side, it was the post office. My restaurant, or our restaurant, was in the middle, a Masonic hall on top. And in the basement was my living quarters, which used to be the barber shop. Hadn't been open in a long time, probably about 20 years, I would imagine, and it was used for other things. They cleaned it out for me. I lived there, or started living there. Long rectangular room. All it had was a very old stove, very old refrigerator, a very Spartan bathroom, a couch bed, and that was essentially it. Nothing else in there. Very Spartan, as they say. So I move in, and when I got there, I found out that the themed restaurant that my friend and his other friend, or our other friend, had was a Christmas-themed restaurant. And I know what you're thinking. This is not going to work, right? That's exactly what I thought. But you know what? I just moved there, just put the money in, didn't want to rock the boat. So I said, okay, let's try it, assuming that it was just going to fail completely. It didn't. We actually got a lot of business. It was rocking. I did not expect it in the least, but it happened. And we had a lot of repeat customers from around the village, around the area, and in the big city. And my two favorite people who were the repeat customers were the gentleman who was the postmaster of the post office in the late 50s to the early 80s, and his wife. Very, very nice people. Old enough to be my father and mother. The generational differences. But, it's one of those things where you click with somebody immediately, or you click with a couple immediately, and it was with me, with the postmaster and his wife. We clicked immediately. I really liked them. They really liked me. Since I loved history, he loved telling me the history of this particular town and this particular building and who lived there and who did their business there. And I loved having them come in, and they would come in about 2-3 times a week. They were very, very just lovely people. I loved them. And it was one of those things where I felt a connection to them. Again, it's hard to really explain, but it was one of those things like that. One day he went to the bank to do some business after they came in, and his wife came up to me and said, don't ever tell him this. And if you do, I'll just deny it completely. But he came to me when we came down here today and said that, I love coming to our restaurant, or coming to this restaurant, because you remind him so much of our son. And I just loved that. I was very touched with that. She told me that her son had died in the Vietnam War in the mid-70s. One of the last people to get drafted. It was a very, very, very sad time. And they hadn't had any other children. And so it was a very, very touching thing for me to have her say this. And it just made me bond with them even more. So he gets back, we have a good time. And again, I'm feeling good about myself because the restaurant's really working good. We're having a good time. We're making money, and all is well. Flash forward about 2 months. It was a very, very busy Friday night. Got out about 1 o'clock in the morning. Had all my front of the house chores done. Waved goodbye to my buddy in the back as he was finishing his chores. Walked down to the basement area where I lived in. My girlfriend at the time was there. She was asleep. I took off my clothes, had a beer outside, enjoyed the beautiful crisp air, and walked back inside and went to sleep. About 3 o'clock in the morning, I had to go to the bathroom. You don't drink beer, you rent it, as they say. So I got up, shuffled out of the bed, walked directly across my little apartment, I guess you could call it, and went to the bathroom. Closed the door, just kind of sat there and did my business. I was there for probably about 5 minutes. I'm thinking, okay, I got a busy day tomorrow. What am I going to do? When am I going to start doing it? Things along those lines. So by the end of my business, I'm awake, completely awake. Get up, open the door, go back into my bed. I take maybe 3 steps outside of the bathroom. Something tells me to look to my left. So I do. I look to my left, and through the shadows and the light that are coming through the windows, and I see something in this corner. I see a black figure. I'm not sure what it was, but it was kind of like a black figure. A shape of a human being, but I couldn't see any kind of a face. And this black figure was standing over what looked to be a barber chair. There were no barber chairs in my apartment. And sitting on a barber chair was what looked to be a little boy. Maybe about, 8, 9 years old. Red hair. Looked to be freckles. And he was looking away from me towards the windows. So obviously, I froze and didn't really know what to do. I just kind of stood there looking at this in shock. After maybe 40, 50 seconds, I'm thinking, who knows? The little boy, quote unquote, turns his head to me and starts smiling. I can see the light kind of reflecting off of braces that he's wearing. I literally walk backwards into the bathroom, close the door, turn the lights on, sit down on the porcelain god, and have variations, kind of like a jazz musician, of saying, "Oh my God, oh 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 my God." This goes on, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, who knows. Finally, after 25 minutes, I realized that I can't sit here the entire night saying, "Oh my God," like Miles Davis blowing his cornet and trumpet. I realized I have to walk out and go back to bed. So after another 5 minutes of going, "Oh my God," I finally get up the courage to open the door, turn the lights off, and walk out. Now, I don't listen to any voices this time. I just go straight to bed, throw the covers over me, huddle up with my girlfriend, and shockingly, fall asleep. The next morning comes, I don't tell anybody. I don't tell my girlfriend. I don't tell my best friend. I don't tell anybody. What are you gonna say when something like this happens to you? So I won't say that I forgot about it. I just kind of put it on the back burner in the back of my mind. So 3 months go by, 4 months go by. I've decided to sell my half of the restaurant to my best friend. My girlfriend and I decide that we're going to move on with the next chapter of our lives and move away to another part of the country. Very, very sad occasion. But, it's one of those things where I felt like we built something very good. Had a lot of business still going on, a lot of customers, and it's running really, really good. But again, I need to move on to the next chapter of my life. So the last week, a lot of the regulars came in again, including the post office, old postmaster and his wife. The greatest thing that happened in that week with him is that he brought in this shoe box full of photos that I've been begging him to bring in for the longest time. He does. And so after our meal that we have, I sat down and had lunch with him, moved everything away, had our coffee. I'm sitting next to him on one side of a booth. His wife is sitting on the other side. He gets the shoebox full of photos and puts it on the table and starts going through them and handing me pictures. This is the post office in 1964. This is the barber shop downstairs, which you're living in 1958. This is the bank when it was built in 1967. Things along those lines. I'm having a good time. He's having a good time. His wife's having a good time. He hands me a picture and kind of goes on with other photos, looking at other photos. I'm looking at the picture. It's a picture taken, I don't know, 1958, 1959. It's a picture in front of a window of obviously what used to be the barber shop. Two people are standing there. One is a barber with his hands behind his back, smiling. The person next to him is a little boy, maybe 8, maybe 9 years old. red hair, hint of freckles. He was smiling, and smiling you could see braces that he had. I didn't say anything. The old postmaster looked at me, looked at the picture. This is taken in 1959. The person that you're looking at right there, that's the person who owned the barber shop where you're living in now. The little boy next to him is my son. He had just gotten his hair cut, and I wanted to take a picture. So yes, that's my story, and you better believe it that I'm sticking to it. So next time, I promise you I will actually have music. It will actually be an actual podcast episode. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that, yes, I am on iTunes. You can subscribe to me on iTunes. Yes, I am on the TuneIn Radio app. You can subscribe to me there. Yes, I am on Google Play app or Google Play Music app, and you can subscribe to me there. And yes, I'm on Podomatic still, and you can subscribe to me there as well. I hope you do all of those things if you're on there, on any one of those platforms. And until next time, my friends, I'll see y'all later.